Our media product, the opening of a sci-fi thriller film entitled Tested, follows the basic structure and convention of film openings, as usually, the first thing that the audience sees is the production company's logo. We have followed this convention by using our own logo of Woodburn Productions, as well as adding in a special effect on Adobe After Effects to give it a shattering forming look on the screen, giving it a more impactful image.
We decided to name our film Tested to add lots of questions for the audience. What is this film about? What's being tested? Is it a test for the characters or for the audience? This also adds to the sci-fi thriller genre, as a single word gives it impact and makes it more memorable.
We also included an action sequence in our film opening to highlight the thriller nature of the film, and to give the audience a taste of what's to come in the film. In our initial drafts of the film opening, we did not use the bedroom scene at all, and just had the action footage. But this made it seem too much like a trailer, so we decided to slow down the pace of the film with the morning bedroom sequence.
We noticed in our research, thriller/sci-fi genre often starts in alternate worlds or dimensions. However, we noticed that in lots of psychological thrillers, an ordinary setting is used to add to the universal quality of the film, making the audience relate better to the characters.
We also wanted a build-up of sinister sounds in the flashback sequence, as this is usually seen in conventional action sequences and thriller films, so that the audience definitely know that they are in a climactic scenario with the protagonists. We also followed the initial conventions of narrative by introducing the audience to the protagonist within the first 20 seconds.
We also aimed for diegetic sounds only. For the most part in our production, this allowed us to demonstrate the dullness and mundane lifestyle the protagonist seems to live. However, we did use various sound effects, for example the phone sound and the heartbeat to add an overall effect.
To really show that the film was aimed at this age group, our protagonist is in his late teens, appealing to this particular age group. We also decided that we wanted the protagonist to be very scruffy and messy, which it seemed that most teenagers are, which further allows them to relate to the protagonist and the film as a whole. Some people that we interviewed about our film opening said that I recognised myself in the protagonist, and he was really messy, like me. Additionally, we cast an attractive male in the role of the protagonist, as the conventions of media products seem to dictate that good-looking people are the only people that the general public aspire to.
We made him scruffy, making him a relatable character for the audience. We did several surveys of people of all ages, from 10 to 60, to find out the general conventions of their favoured genres. We discovered that people our age's favourite genres were generally romance, sci-fi and thrillers, but since neither myself or Molly really enjoyed romance films, we decided to do a thriller film, aimed at people from the ages of 14 to 25.
We explored this further when we considered the manual focus of the film opening. Often, we had the protagonist in focus with the mess of his room and the blurred areas. This could signify the blurred nature of his outside life and its hectic nature.
Furthermore, we aimed to represent the slightly lower class for our film opening, as well as representing the youth generation. We decided to look at it from the perspective of society looking down on the slightly less well-off younger people. We did this through our use of high-angle camera shots signifying society's higher worth over the protagonists. We also decided to dress the protagonist in dark clothing to symbolise the darker sides of his character, with the addition of a beard making the protagonist seem lazy and unkempt. We also added the image of the protagonist of a lower class. He uses taboo language by saying, "oh crap." This makes him seem perhaps less educated than the rest of society, as he cannot find other words to articulate himself.
If the film was to be made into a full-length feature film, there could be a whole manner of film production companies that could be used to produce our film. Really, the film could be produced on a very small budget and could be produced by production companies such as Bedlam or Seesaw, which were the production companies responsible for The King's Speech. The film could be more of a psychological thriller by using lighting, for example chiaroscuro, and dialogue to create the fear.
However, there could be a bigger budget element in this film to do with the sci-fi element of the film. This could be done by companies such as Warner Brothers or 20th Century Fox. This big budget could be used to create panoramic scenes of the different world in which the protagonist lives, or even, for the special effects perhaps, to show the protagonist's paranoid thoughts or flashbacks. That may be very demanding for the special effects team, ensuring the need for a big budget.
To attract and entice our audience into the film, we did research early on in the process with our target audience, 14 to 20, discussing sci-fi and thriller films and how they expected them to be. For example, opening with a panoramic shot of the setting, with an action sequence, or, like in our film, opening on the general life of the protagonist.
We wanted the audience to relate to the protagonist, so we asked our participants to tell us their favourite heroes in films. Lots of people said the obvious ones such as Harry Potter and Jason Bourne, We also noticed how lots of characters they were choosing were very similar to themselves. For example, flawed characters such as Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games trilogy.
By doing this, we responded to the audience's wants about the character being relatable and flawed. Additionally, we added in an action sequence which many of them said they expected and wanted from a sci-fi thriller film. This was at the end with a flashback sequence. We asked the audience, what do you think it's about? Would you watch the whole thing? And what did it make you feel? Did you like it? What genre would you say it is? And what did the lack of music make you feel, if anything? We also asked if they had any additional comments.
Chloe J said that she loved the way that we didn't feel the need to use music, as it showed the normal man's life as it was at the beginning of the story. We felt that this comment summarised our aims brilliantly, as we attempted to mimic the conventions of film, as most of the time it doesn't have music over the top. It's mostly diegetic sounds that are used.
Sarah said that she liked the premise of the story setup, which was good as it really helped us realise our intention to include many enigmas for the audience. She also commented that she wanted to find out what was happening with the man and the pills.
Throughout the whole process, we have learnt a lot by using all of the technologies available, for example, Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe After Effects. This really helped us to develop our editing skills, as well as giving us a genuine appreciation of how difficult and time-consuming editing is. In particular, in relation to the sound editing, which was very hard as we had to include lots of action matches in our sound, as well as non-diegetic sounds of music and so on. We included the black bars to make it seem more like a real film product.
We also learnt a lot about camera work and the symbolism and semiotics of the angles and focus in particular. We discovered, although the camera did allow us to focus on everything in the shot, we always kept something in focus, usually the protagonist, as we wanted to draw the audience's attention to him in the film opening. We also wanted to use a variety of shots within our film opening, from extreme close-ups as seen here, and extremely long shots of the action sequences. We also discovered the importance of lighting, and we mainly used natural lighting to give the appearance of morning or midday sun. To get the effect seen in our film opening, we used slightly lower exposure on the camera settings so that it created a contrast between the light in the scene and the dark. We learnt that the lighting, camera and focus are all a vital part of successfully telling the story and contribute to the audience's enjoyment and understanding of the film as a whole.
We noticed in particular, whilst looking back at our preliminary tasks set in an art gallery, we can hear a buzzing sound which is not present in the film opening, which demonstrates our development of skills in the sound area in particular, as we have learnt that the sound balance and volume in relation to the overall effect of the film is of utmost importance.